What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so I know I just covered this, but once again, like I was saying, that video was from a right-wing source because there was no left-wing sources covering this very issue, the Russian collusion hoax, or the epiphany that we've had. It really wasn't an epiphany. I'm being facetious a little bit with that. But now some left-wing sources have picked this up, so let's see exactly what they're talking about here. Gabbard claims Obama officials manufactured intelligence of 2016 Russian election interference. Here we go, y'all. This is going to be lovely. Oh, I love it when left-wing sources try to cover reality because they always manipulate everything, and you'll see. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard released a report Friday alleging Obama administration officials manipulated intelligence related to Russian interference in the 2016 election. Gabbard asserted in a statement that former officials engaged in a treasonous conspiracy and said her office was turning over evidence to the Justice Department for possible criminal referrals. This is great, y'all. Like I said yesterday, like, go after Clapper, go after all of these people, right? Brennan, everybody, get these people. This should have already been done, as a matter of fact, but we didn't have the evidence. I don't know why Trump did not push to release the Crossfire Hurricane records in his first term after all this kind of blew over. I bet you what he planned on doing it because he was, I guess at that time, by the time it was finished, he was ramping up his re-election campaign. So he was like, I'm just push it off. Didn't realize he was going to lose. When would you? Why? Why would you think you would lose to?
Anyway, and I don't want to, well, maybe choose my words.
That?
We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
But I mean, we kind of already knew this, but it was technically conspiracy theory, right? We didn't actually have the intelligence, but now that we do have the intelligence, now that we know that it was a top-down campaign, that they took the intelligence, that, hang on, first, Donald Trump is not colluding with the Russians, that the Steele dossier is completely fabricated, and two, that the Russians don't even have the capability to interfere in the election, to actually change votes. Sure, did they run a social media campaign? Yes. But under our laws, they have the right to do that. Can't really stop them. Just saying. Friday's memo cites officials such as former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, former CIA Director John Brennan, and former FBI Director James Comey. President Trump has for years claimed that investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election and whether his campaign colluded with Moscow was a hoax, targeting officials like Brennan and Comey with frequent attacks. Like, see what they're doing right here is they're trying to sow some doubt into this by saying, oh, well, Trump claims this was a hoax, insinuating that it wasn't. Because they always say, oh, Trump's a liar, or he says this without evidence, all of that nonsense. So that's what they're trying to do, folks. They're trying to manipulate reality once again to downplay the effects of this. But think about it for a second. The CIA, the FBI, the entire IC community under Obama fabricated a hoax to try to usurp the power of the incoming president. That is a coup. And they call January 6th a coup against the government? Trump, in March, signed a memo ordering the declassification of all files related to Crossfire Hurricane, the name given to the FBI's investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election. The very intelligence agencies that Gabbard now oversees have long concluded that Russia sought to influence the 2016 election, an assessment that was backed by other outside entities. Right, so once again, that paragraph was meant to say that, well, hang on, you know, our intelligence says that they were trying really hard to get Donald Trump into office. And also, it wasn't just them, even though that we're being told by the evidence, by the hard facts, that it was all fabricated. These other entities, outside countries, were saying the same thing. So please don't believe Tulsi Gabbard, and please believe us that yes, Donald Trump, as a matter of fact, did collude with Russia, and they did try to make Donald Trump the president of the United States. He got elected, didn't he? Isn't that verifiable that he got elected? You see? This is what they're trying to do with that, folks. I know I may have drummed it up a little bit for dramatic effect or whatever, but that's what that did. That's what that paragraph was. And that wasn't a statement from a Democratic politician. That was a statement from the publicator. It's insane, y'all, what they do. You just gotta see it. And that's it. Oh, Lord. That includes a 3-year bipartisan Senate investigation that concluded in a more than 1,300-page report that Russia was aggressive in seeking to interfere with the election on Trump's behalf, including by launching a massive social media campaign. Now, that was the cherry on top. You gotta believe us now. It wasn't just the intelligence community, but your people's government, right? The Senate, they represent you. They wouldn't lie to you. Politicians would never lie to you. They concluded that Russia, hang on, what did they say? Was aggressive in seeking to interfere. They were aggressive in seeking to interfere. But what you got to ask yourself, is that the same thing as actually interfering? By launching a massive social media campaign. Once again, that's legal, folks. But did they actually try to interfere in the vote count? That's what matters here. And that, right there, is what was indicted against Donald Trump. That's what that whole spiel was. That they were secretly changing votes. It's all nonsense. Gabbard's memo, as well as another 114 pages of related documents, primarily rests on claims that there was no indication of a Russian effort to directly manipulate the actual vote count. What they did right there is they told you the truth, but then they tried to inject a little bit of uncertainty by saying, oh, it was just, it rests on the claims. Trying to say that it's not true. However, that is not at odds with the conclusion of the intelligence community or the Senate report, which determined there was no evidence that any votes were changed or that any voting machines were manipulated. The Obama administration said it had seen no evidence that hackers tampered with the results. Right. That was buried way down deep into the reports or whatever. But what was the surface level stuff that you guys were reporting on? That Donald Trump colluded with Russians to change the outcome of that election on Donald Trump's behalf. That's what was being reported. And we were told time and time again there was more than conclusive evidence, more than circumstantial evidence. Sorry. There was more than just circumstantial evidence. But they never produced that evidence, ever. But we were told for years that this was the case. And now that you're trying to say that, they agreed that they didn't actually do this. Yeah, that's when we found out that this was all a hoax. It's insane, y'all. Once again, they're trying to inject a little bit of uncertainty into this for anybody that actually bought into the lies and manipulation. Gabbard's release was immediately panned by Intelligence Committee Democrats, who noted that it comes amid fractures within the Trump administration over how to handle scrutiny over the Jeffrey Epstein case. That is a complete and utter distraction from what is actually going on here. That is all that is, folks. And that was intentional. After manipulating, in a roundabout way, telling you the facts, and then trying to inject a bunch of uncertainty into those facts. Then they're going to throw in the home run manipulation here. That, oh, well, this comes as Donald Trump is floundering over Jeffrey Epstein. Like, what did that have to do with anything? Once again, the corporate press trying to poison the well here, trying to inject utterly irrelevant information into a news article. And I don't get it, y'all. Why? Why do they do this? Why can't they just tell the truth and give us the facts? I wouldn't have a job if they did. I mean, I say a job. I mean, I kind of am getting paid for this, but it's not really. It's kind of peanuts, to be honest with you. But, you guys can change that by smashing that like button. It's a day that ends in Y, and Donald Trump desperately wants to change the subject. So Director Gabbard is rehashing decade-old false claims about the Obama administration. Few episodes in our nation's history have been investigated as thoroughly as the intelligence community's warning in 2016 that Russia was interfering in the election, House Intelligence Committee Ranking Member Jim Hines said in a statement. See, this is what they do, folks. And it's lovely that they'll, in a roundabout way, give you the facts, then manipulate those facts, then inject uncertainty on top of those facts to leave you kind of confused. And then what they'll do is they'll give you the complete and utter lies of Democrats on top of that to drive everything home, folks. I mean, that was complete nonsense. Just because he said, oh, it's false claims. Well, hang on. The actual facts refute that. And you're still saying it's false? That just reminds me of a Family Guy episode where Peter Griffin gets into an elevator with one other person, and then you hear a fart sound, and he looks over at that other person and says, "It was you." That's what that reminds me of. Like, my dude, really? Every legitimate investigation, including the bipartisan Senate Intelligence Committee investigation, found no evidence of politicization and endorsed the findings of the 2016 Intelligence Community Assessment. It seems D&I Gabbard is unaware that the years-long Russia investigation carried out by the Senate Intelligence Committee reaffirmed that the Russian government directed extensive activity against U.S. election infrastructure ahead of the 2016 election, and that it used social media to conduct an information warfare campaign in order to benefit Donald Trump. Once again, folks, lies. Because, hang on just a second. That same report that he said what it directed extensive activity against U.S. election infrastructure, that same report refutes itself? Because you were just a few minutes ago telling us that, hang on, that same report agreed. That's why we don't understand why they're rehashing this decades-old false claims about the Obama administration. So now in the very next paragraph, you're going to contradict yourself. Great. Love it. This conclusion was supported on a unanimous basis by every single Democrat and Republican on the committee, he said in a statement. That's not true either. Also Friday, the Justice Department moved to release some evidence from the Epstein case, including some grand jury testimony, under pressure to release more information about a figure Trump used to socialize with. Oh, God. Like, now they're really trying to poison the well. They're just taking like a 5-gallon bucket of poison and just dumping it in the well while everybody in the village is standing around watching them. And they're saying, no, yeah, everything is safe to drink. This water is fine. That's not poison at all. Even though the bucket has poison written all over the side of it. And it actually has one of those skull with crossbones on it. That is what is going on here, folks. You knew it was going to happen. You knew that the left and corporate press, they cannot help themselves. They must manipulate everything. The move from Gabbard comes not only amid fallout from the Epstein saga, but shortly after reports that she had fallen out of favor with Trump over intelligence related to Iran's nuclear program. Oh, hang on. Hey, John, could you bring that other bucket of not poison, please? Friday's release underscores how probing the origins of the Russian investigation has remained a fixation for the president nearly a decade later. Why are you guys so concerned about John dumping poison into the well? I have no idea. It's not like you guys are going to drink that water, right? The memo also focuses on the Steele dossier, a collection of salacious allegations about Trump's ties to Russia, some of which have been discredited. Some? Don't you mean the entire thing was a fabrication created by the Hillary Clinton campaign?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Okay. Gabbard received praise from GOP figures for the report. Dismantling the deep state, Speaker Mike Johnson wrote on social media platform X. There you go, folks. That's the only rebuttal we get out of that whole thing. I love it. But this is how the corporate press, this is how they view reality, as complete falsity. They don't understand reality whatsoever. They don't know how to tell the truth. They don't know how to bring the facts and just give you the evidence and that's it. They must inject their own manipulation and worldview into every single news article. And it's fascinating, y'all. It really, really is. But now, hey, at least we can say, for a fact, the Obama administration tried to coup the government. We could say that for a fact now. The Obama administration actively undermined everything about that election. Everything. And Donald Trump still won. Of course, he didn't get much accomplished because of
the most weighty constitutional decision that you have under Article 1, other than the declaration of war. And that is the potential impeachment of a president of the United States.
all the obstructionists you put into the government to actually obstruct Donald Trump. But hey, it is what it is. We must play ball. We got to be on the same playing field. So, hey, if these people are there, fire them. That's all I could say, Donald Trump. Oh, wait, he's doing that now. Yay. That's all I got on this one. Y'all let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. It's fascinating if you ask me. They're still trying to deny it. But it is what it is. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Y'all don't forget to smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here and you want to stay up to date with how you're being manipulated by these people, because you're being manipulated heavily by these people. Y'all let me know all that. Y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.